So, welcome back, everyone. We are here with the losers finals of our second tournament. This time's in Gens 3, 4, and 5 OU. Between Shanipika and srvoltmike. So, Shani with a Sceptile lead here. Sceptile normally runs Sceptile lead versus Tyranitar lead. Now, you might think this is a bad matchup for the Tyranitar, but actually, because of the way Gen 3 works, Sceptile's moves are more than likely, its stab grass moves are only going to be special, so the only moves that it can really hit Tyranitar with for a lot of damage would be Drain Punch, and which is not good in this generation, so you really only have Earthquake. We see a substitute come out, and most likely a Hidden Power Fire, or it could be Hidden Power Bug coming out from the Tyranitar. So Shani reveals that he's Subseed, Substitute Leech Seed. The Sandstorm is actually going to be knocking into the sub-range, preventing him from healing with leftovers. So we see Shani go into Scarm, revealing that the Tyranitar is in fact HP Bug, and now the Scarm just kind of gets to Spike for free because that Tyranitar is more than likely Dragon Dance. Yeah, as we see, Mike is running a physical Magneton-based offense, so unfortunately this Skarmory is more than likely going to go down unless it's like max speed Jolly HP round to kill the Magneton. It is not. It was faster than the Magneton, revealing that the Skarmory was probably Jolly, but it just suicides going for a second layer of spikes. Removing one of Shani's best checks to whatever physical hard hitters that we're going to see Mike has in the bags. Probably something along the lines of a Heracross, or Salamence, or an Aerodactyl. So that leads me to believe that the Tyranitar is Dragon Dance and not Choice Band. Although I could be wrong. So now Shani, Sceptile's a bit of an interesting pick. I don't really know what could be coming in here. Something with Earthquake that is more than likely what's going to be coming in, and we see a Salamence. So Magneton doesn't run HP Ice, so it's not really it's only threatening the Tyranitar with a magnet boosted Thunderbolt, which will still, granted, do a ton of damage to Salamence. But if the Salamence decides it just wants to set up a Dragon Dance here and attempt to win on the spot, that would not be surprising. Salamence could also be Choice Banded or Mixed in this case, all of which don't mind coming into Magneton and can and can OHKO it. We see Mixed Salamence. As Magneton goes for a substitute, revealing that it is in fact leftovers and not magnet. So now this just gets to paralyze the Salamence if it has it, but it's going to paralyze the Salamence, as we see Toxic actually coming out. Magneton, interesting choice, as we see Shani go into a Claydol, hoping to absorb the electric type attack that was coming Salamance's way. Claydol pretty much freely can Earthquake here. It will force Mike to reveal a Flying type, because this Magneton is more than likely HP Grass. Well, if it's HP Grass, it could just stay in and fire off an HP Grass here, and then switch, which is probably what's going to happen. If it's HP Fire, I also think it just fires off an HP Fire and comes back in later as a sack, because it's going to be taking 16% to the spikes. Yeah, Shani pretty much freely can go for an Earthquake here, though, just to get rid of the sub. Another likely Pokemon on Mike's team would be also a Metagross. Probably a Choice Banded Metagross, if that is, just doesn't back up Skarmory. As Shani goes back into the Salamence on the HP, that looks like HP Grass. We don't see leftovers on the Salamence, leading me to believe that it is in fact Choice Banded. But that Brick Break did very, very little damage. As we see Earthquake and the Salamence gets Toxic in return. It's really going to be taking a lot of chip damage now with the combination of Toxic plus the Sandstorm being around. That's one of the things in the older generations is until Generation 6, all weather was permanent. As Mike just opts to fodder off the Magneton to the Salamence's Earthquake. As we see a Celebi coming in, oh, this is scary. This is probably an SD pass Celebi, which means it can just set up an SD right here and pass it into one of the big hitters on this team. Maybe like an Agility Metagross. which is very, very, very scary. Or it could pass an SD into something like Aerodactyl. We see Gengar come in on a Psychic. Wow. Great play from Mike. Now the Salamence just gets to come back in and fire off a HP, Choice Banded HP Flying. As we see the T-Tar come back in, did Shani predict that? No, he's too far behind. Oh! HP Bug? HP Bug... interesting. HP Bug Salamence. Obviously Mike was not expecting that, he was expecting the standard HP Flying Banded Ments, but that does a ton of damage to the Tyranitar. You see Focus Punch into the Lantern. Oh, that's going to be doing a lot of damage, and that Tar just absolutely destroys the Lantern. Unfortunate that we didn't get to see hashtag Lantern Gang come out today, because Lantern probably could have put in work here. As we see another Focus Punch come out, as we just see Leaf Blade just to finish off the weakened Tyranitar. As it went for a Focus Punch. Now Shani is extremely far behind here with his Claydol and Salamence being toxic, and his only thing remaining being a Sceptile. Now, Subseed Sceptile could, in theory, stall out a Snorlax, but he would probably have to sack the Salamence to do that. It's not looking good, though. Not looking good. Yeah, this Snorlax just pretty much just to fire off a Return or a Body Slam. It doesn't kill, which is big for Shani, but he's not going to be able to recover enough to sub again after he subs here. And the Snorlax is just going to be able to fire off another Return. As into the Salamence, trying to weaken this thing's attacks so that the Sceptile can get more HP back. As it gets it gets hit by the Sandstorm, gets hit with the Leech Seed and the Leftovers. So now the Sceptile back at a reasonable health to start subbing up again, and slowly but surely weakening the Snorlax. Oh, but we see a Heracross. Yeah. Yeah, if this is SD Slack Heracross, I don't know what Shani does here. Yeah, it's Leftovers Heracross. Very interesting. As we see it just go for a Rock Slide, meaning it doesn't want to miss Mega Horn, but interesting choice. As Mega Horn covered a switch into Claydol as well. Although I guess it really doesn't matter because Claydol is hard walled by the Snorlax. And more than likely the Celebi as well, if it does not have Ice Beam. So yeah, into the Claydol, as we see the Mega Horn come out here, and that just concluded the game, unfortunately, unless Mega Horn misses like every time, and the Sceptile is somehow able to kill this. No, he just goes for another Mega Horn. So the Heracross is slowly getting worn down, but I just don't see a way for Shani to be able to come back from this. Because all the Heracross has to do is hit one thing, and into the Celebi, so it can't, as it gets HP fired for a little bit of damage. It will go down to another HP fire, but again, Snorlax can just kind of come in. The Snorlax is weakened, so it goes down to a critical HP fire that would have been a roll otherwise, so I don't know if that crit was unlucky, but we'll see what comes out here. As we just see the Snorlax come out. Yeah, as we saw earlier, it took 70% from the Sceptile took 70% from Snorlax's return, so it just gets to click that here. Leaf Blade does not get the crit, and the return finishes on. So game 1 goes to Mike. So Shani will get to pick the next generation as well. I don't know where we're going, but could be a generation with preview, it could be a generation without preview. I'm not a... We'll head right back into it. Five. So the weather generation. This is the first generation in the game in the games with team preview. Funnily enough, because of Zoroark and its illusion being too strong without team preview. So we see a Rain team without a Keldeo coming out from the side of Mike. Very, very, very interesting. We also see Raikou, another uncommon pick in Black and White OU. And then on Shani's side, we have classic Drag Mag, but instead of Jirachi, it's running a Scizor, and it's only running 3 dragons in Salamence. More than likely Scarf Moxie, Salamence, Banded, Kieran Black, and Specs Latios, just to fire off great Draco Meteors. So we see the Heatran lead versus the Mamoswine lead. The Mamoswine is sashed, so it can live any hit that the Heatran goes for, as it can just get up its rocks for free here. The Heatran, alternatively, can just go for rocks as well. So it's Protect. Heatran protects, scouting for an Earthquake, as Shani just gets to get up rocks for free. That's a good trade for Shani. Now the Heatran has to switch for Fear of Earthquake into the Ferrothorn. Yeah, the Ferro comes in and takes a good chunk from Earthquake, and it tries to get up its own hazards right now. Shani has no way to remove hazards, so I think he's just got to try to dispatch this Ferrothorn as fast as he can. As he goes into Magnezone. As Mike makes a good double into Toxicroak on the predicted Magnezone. Now the unfortunate thing about Toxicroak is, well, it can do a lot of damage, but it's just overall just not the best one. Now it can fire off a fighting move here, which will hit most of Shani's team. He could elect to go into either Latios or Salamence, since they both resist fighting, but you have to be aware of the Ice Punch coming off of either of those. As he goes into Salamence, as we just see a Drain Punch come out from Toxicroak, revealing that it's Life Orb. Toxicroak will always run Dry Skin in this generation, as it benefits a ton from permanent weather. Specifically the rain, healing it back up so it doesn't take as much damage from Life Orb. And now we see more than likely the Scarf Salamence come in, and it just clean OHKOs the Toxapex with the Earthquake. So now it gets a Moxie boost, and it really, I really only see one option for Mike to go into, and that's Tornadus. Yeah, Tornadus comes out, expecting the choice item. Now, if this is not choice item, this will be huge, as they'll probably drop the Tornadus here, but I'm almost 100% sure that this is choice scarf. Now, if I'm Mike here, I just double into Politoed, as he just uses. Okay, that works as well. The Politoed comes in, breaks the, and that U-turn also is big because it breaks the Mamoswine Sash. Now, Politoed could be Scarf, it could be Specs, it could be Res Chesto, but it's just going to be able to fire off a water move right here. That does a ton of damage, revealing that the Politoed is probably offensive, and the Mamoswine goes down. Mamoswine really wasn't going to be that useful for the rest of this game. It was just kind of used to make sure that Tornadus couldn't just run him over. But since he got Rocks up, that's big, because Tornadus doesn't normally run a healing move. But now we just see the Banded Kieran Black come in. And I'm assuming this is Banded, unless it's also Scarf. But Banded is the most common set on these Drag Mag teams. The Banded Kieran Black can pretty much just fire off an Outrage, and it will 2-hit KO the Ferrothorn. We see Dragon Claw. It does not 2-hit KO the Pharaoh with Leftovers recovery, so it just gets to get up another layer of hazards. Also, Heatran is a good switch in at this point, because it's locked into a Dragon move. You just see Shani trying to go for a higher roll, does not get it, unfortunately, as Direwolf just finishes off the Kieran Black. Yeah, so he could go back into he could go Salamence here, he could go Zone and trap it and just finish it off. But he still has to deal with one more Steel type in the back. Hopefully Shani's Latios is running Surf, so it can just abuse the fact that it's rain boosted, which would be doing a ton of damage right now. I don't know if it would kill the Raikou, considering Raikou has decent defenses. Yeah, Raikou has 100 Spef and 90 HP, so I don't think it would be killing the Raikou, but it would be killing the Ferrothorn, and it would be threatening everything else. And it would be forcing the Raikou to come in HP Ice, or Shadow Ball if it has it. But I have a feeling it's more likely to be HP Ice. So you see the Magnezone come out, and Shani just elects to kill off this Ferrothorn here, as he goes for Thunderbolt. Since Ferrothorn was so low, the resisted hit does not matter, and it's going to be able to be picked off. Now Mike just goes hard into Heatran here. This is Earth Power Heatran that's going to be killing this thing off, but the damage will have already been done. T-Bolt does 48% as he goes, as Mike elects to go for rocks to weaken that Salamence even further and dig into both of Shani's other remaining members. And he gets out of Thunderbolt range. Oh, never mind. He just gets a high roll. So the Heat Train goes down. Raiku's the only switch in. If it's Subcom Mind, this might be a bit of a problem here. But I'm pretty sure Scissors Bullet Punch will be breaking the sub. So it's shiny, meaning that it probably has one of the event moves. I would be guessing it could have Weather Ball, but I'm thinking it probably just has Aura Sphere. Now the thing about the Raikou being shiny, as it is Calm Mind, Shani just goes for Thunderbolt, attempting to sack this to the Raikou before it can sit up even further to get Salamence in for free. Is it locked into a hasty nature, meaning it will 100% drop to a Salamence hit here. So yeah, so the Salamence comes in, and I think this pretty much wraps up the game. Tornado's coming back in at 50%, and it just goes for Outrage. So he needs a 3, I think he needs a 3 turn to for sure win this game. Pallet comes back in. As it's clear that Mike is just hoping for a 2-turn Outrage, which he gets, although the Pallet drops. So I think Scissor can kill this as well. Salamence hits itself in confusion as Tornadus goes for the Hurricane. I think Scissor is able to finish it off at this range. If not, Latios definitely lives and will be able to KO it, as Bullet Punch just knocks out the Scissor, or knocks out the Tornadus. So we're going to be going to Generation 4 now. The last generation without team preview, so we'll see. A lot of Generation 4 comes down to lead matchups and what the last Pokemon is in the back, so it should be a very interesting way to end the set. Ready up. So we are here. We see a lead Bronzong versus lead Roserade. So Roserade just kind of gets to put something to sleep here on this lead and then go for its spikes or toxic spikes, whichever one it is carrying. Bronzong wants to go for rocks, potentially sets up Trick Room. It could also elect to just boom on the Roserade, but yeah, it's just going to sleep. It is Lum Bronzong as it just gets up the rocks. Great lead by Shani. Roserade has to risk another 75% accurate Sleep Powder here and to put the Bronzong to sleep, because otherwise it cannot really touch it. So, as we see Toxic Spikes come out, as Gyro Ball just crits and brings Roserade down to its Focus Sash. Now the Roserade is probably going to attempt to put the Bronzong to sleep again, so it can go for more hazards, as it does land and the Bronzong does go to sleep, burning 1 sleep turn. I don't remember how bad sleep is in this generation, but Bronzong just wakes up turn 1 and crits the Roserade again. Neither of those crits really mattered in the long run, because even if Roserade lived 1, it would have died to the second one. As we see a Tran come out. Now this could be Pasho Tran, it could be Shuka Tran. As we see Protect, leading me to believe that this is Torment Tran. Interesting. We see Gliscor come out now. Shani just goes for another Earthquake. Yeah, this is looking more and more like it's a Torment Tran Staltine, which is interesting considering it has a Suicide lead. I could be wrong though, but that's what it's looking like. Now Shani, the Gliscor can't touch the Bronzong, but on the other hand, the Bronzong can't really do much to the Gliscor unless it has Toxic. So the Gliscor can kind of just set up the rocks here if it has it. It can also U-turn out if it has that as well, and try to get momentum back into the Heatran. Last move on Bronzong could be Toxic, could be Trick Room. No, actually it's Boom. Last move on the Bronzong is Explosion, because in this generation, Explosion halves defense stats, making the Pokemon, making it effective 500 base power. Mike goes into the Rotom, predicting the Explosion on the Gliscor. And in Generation 4, the Rotom appliances are just Ghost type, Ghost Electric. They are not they don't have their secondary typing yet. So Shani does a ton of damage with that Dragon Claw, leading me to believe that this is Banded Dragonite. Yeah, this is more than likely Banded Dragonite. We could see Ice Fang coming up on this Gliscor here. Or it could just Roost Stall the Dragonite down, although it is taking a little bit of damage. Mamoswine comes in on the Ice Fang. Great move by Shani. as now this gets threatened out and pretty much can click Ice Shard. Yeah, as Ice Shard, Mike stays in, maybe predicting Shani to overpredict and go for EQ, expecting this Tran or the other Steel type to come in. As we see Tentacruel come in, Tentacruel's gonna threaten out this Mamoswine with Hydro Pump, or it can Suicide Spin away the rocks. So, very interesting choice, as Earthquake is just going to drop the Tentacruel, as Mamoswine is faster than the Tentacruel. The Tentacruel was not running speed. Interesting. Mamoswine's getting worn down a lot, as it will go down to the next in 2 turns. So, if this Tran is more than likely slower, as then the Bronzong comes out on the Protect, threatening this, as the Rotom kind of just gets to come back in for free, as the Bronzong cannot really touch it. As it's just sub. As Shani predicting the Rotom goes for the Gyro Ball. Good play on his part, as Mike just subs up. Now we're just going to see the EQ, and we're going to see this is the absolute annoyance of Torment Tran. So now Shani has no option to break this thing sub, so it gets to set up another sub for free here. Last move on Torment Tran is normally Toxic, so it will eventually just PowerPoint stall the Bronzong to death, but because Bronzong can't blow up on it. But we see DD Kingdra come out from Shani as it gets tormented by the Heatran. Now you're going to see a Protect here from Tran, just trying to waste more turns and rack up that toxic damage. See Waterfall come out. Waterfall will break this up as he DDs again on the Lava Plume. So it is Lava Plume. That makes sense with the Toxic Spikes. You see Protect as the Kingdra rests. So it is Rest Chesto Kingdra. This puts this Tran in a lot of trouble. As Waterfall is going to break the sub, as Heatran just gets to set up another one here. But this Heatran is not in good shape. It has to get the Lava Plume burn. And it does get it. That is unfortunate for Shani, but I think he can kind of just, he can rest it off again, but that does let the Rotom come in for free, although since the Rotom isn't Scarfed, it's not as threatening. Threatening to trick a Scarf, and I don't know what the last is. The last, it could be a Tar, could be another Steel type as well. Because Torment Tran, as we see the Rotom Wash come in on the rest. Great move by Mike, as now this Kingdra has to spend 2 turns sleeping it while it just gets pounded by Thunderbolts. So here we go, as it does 33%. There's a lot. It's not enough to 2-hit KO though, so this Kingdra will get a chance to wake up. Yeah, so Kingdra can't take another Thunderbolt, but it will be waking up on this turn, as it goes for Waterfall and finishes off the Rotom Wash. So now we see the Heatran come back in, and I think this is pretty much over at this point. The Rest Chesto Kingdra was just such a good bring, as we see Zapdos come out on the Dragon Dance. So, yikes, because now the Zapdos, I think even if it's defensive, is dropping to this Waterfall. No, it lives, and just is able to finish off the Kingdra with Thunderbolt, although it's very, very hurt. Mamoswine comes out, threatening the Ice Shard here. Zapdos can't switch back in, so it's got to stay in here. As the Ice Shard just finishes it off. And so the Tran will just Protect here to live the Earthquake, but I'm pretty sure Banded Knight just wins this game by clicking Earthquake. Actually, it does not, predicting a switch, and that is the end of the game. Shani will be moving on to finals on the loser side to fight Zugaboo Royale, the winner of the last Showdown in Pallet Town. Good games on both sides. They both played well. I will see you guys back for the next time.